So, you're thinking about moving to Melbourne, Florida. Well, today I'm going to go over the top 10 reasons why you should not move to Melbourne. You might be thinking I'm just going to bash the area and convince you not to live here. And simply that's not the case. I am just trying to help you do some research, see if this is the right area for you, because sometimes it's not the right area, whether you want to live somewhere else in the county or somewhere else in the States, across the United States, or it's a perfect fit. So this is kind of going to go over the top 10 things you need to know and the bad things that you might be okay with or not okay with. So let's get started with number one. All right, number one is if you're looking for a big city, a metropolitan. We simply just do not have that here. We are a small city, and Melbourne specifically, if you're looking at homes, you might be just typing in Melbourne as the city, but there's actually areas that are not in Melbourne that have a Melbourne city address, so it's a little bit confusing, but the actual city of Melbourne is actually, I'll have it on the map right here, you'll see it's not that big. We've got two downtown areas. We have O'Galley, downtown Melbourne. We have shopping malls, restaurants, grocery stores, but definitely not like in Orlando where it's a huge city, different parts of it. So just know that if you're someone who likes to be in the hustle and bustle, maybe coming from a big city like New York City or LA, Melbourne is going to be the complete opposite of that. So just keep that in mind. All right, number two is if you're looking to live on the ocean or really close to the ocean. Melbourne is pretty close to the ocean, but it's not an oceanfront city. If you look at the map, you'll see that there's a barrier island. There is a Melbourne beach, which is a different city than Melbourne. Now, Melbourne does own a little bit of the barrier island, but it's a very small area. So for the most part, when you're looking at houses in Melbourne, you're actually going to be crossing the bridge with the Indian River, and then you're going to be on the Indian River. So just keep in mind, if you see something like you're interested in Waterfront, that is a river, that isn't the ocean. I have had some confusion there, so I wanted to point that out. However, if you do like to boat, fish, all of that great stuff, then you could live waterfront for relatively cheaper than a lot of other areas in Florida. But again, it is not oceanfront, it is the river, it's brackish water. So to get to the ocean, depending on where you're living, it's going to be anywhere from 10 minutes to 30 minutes in Melbourne. So just keep in mind that you're not exactly on the ocean and you have to cross one of the bridges that you see on the map to get there. The great thing is that they don't usually get much traffic on those bridges. So if you live actually 10 minutes away, you're going to be seeing about a 10-minute drive. It's not going to be dependent on traffic unless there's an accident, of course. Okay, number three, and I know this is Florida in general, but if you don't like the heat, then you probably shouldn't live here. I mean, I get it if you're relocating, a great job offer. You can absolutely get used to it. For me, I could not stand living in the cold any longer. That's the main reason why I moved here. To be honest, yes, we had a job offer, which was great, but we looked for that job offer. It wasn't thrown in our hand. It gets very toasty in the summertime. You know, for me, I don't mind it. It definitely gets a little bit tiring towards the end in the dog days of August. But for the most part, I love it. I love that I can hop in my pool. There's also community pools, and there's, of course, the beach. There's all those options to keep you cool. And then 99% of homes here are air conditioned. 99% of businesses are air conditioned. So a lot of people spend more time inside, but it's still, for me, I prefer it than the freezing cold and shoveling snow. In the wintertime, we're in November now. It's absolutely amazing. I want to say it's about 78 degrees today, and it's been a hot November. We had 80s just the other day, but you know, in the wintertime, it's absolutely amazing. It's a lot more drier. In the summertime, we have a lot more rain. So it's just absolutely incredible. And in my opinion, if you're someone who gets hot flashes or just super hot and you don't like it, then Florida in general just might not be the best option for you. Okay, number four. In Melbourne in general, the restaurants are okay. There are some great gems, I will be honest. There's some really great restaurants. If you're wondering, if you're visiting, you want recommendations, feel free to reach out. I can give you my food guide or I'll post it in the comments below. But coming from the Northeast and Rhode Island, I mean, Providence, just like almost every restaurant's just like amazing. And here it was harder to find something we like. When we first moved here, we definitely had to try a few bad eggs in our opinion. And then another thing is that we had gotten recommendations to some places and we tried them and it wasn't our taste. So it might be a different taste thing as well. You know, there's some pizza places that people love that we just do not like. It's a preference, but for me, my restaurant list of places I like to go on, you know, a date night, a weekend is a lot more limited than when I lived in Rhode Island, or even if you're in Orlando. There's so many amazing restaurants, which is great because Orlando is only an hour away. In general, the area lacks an array of really great food. You kind of just have to find what works for you and stick with it, which is great. It makes it easier if you have your set 5 favorite places versus, you know, having 15, 20 different places that are absolutely amazing to choose from all the time. If you live here and you have a favorite restaurant, drop it in the comments below. Would love to hear it and try it out, or agree with you. Maybe I've already tried it. All right, number 5 is the traffic. Now, this is super subjective. I definitely feel like there's certain areas in Melbourne that get more trafficy than others. The population since COVID has grown a lot. Florida in general has had a huge migration to the area. But with that said, it's a lot less trafficy than other areas in Florida. You know, I was down in Miami for a concert a couple months ago and it was so insane. It took hours just to get a few blocks versus, you know, the traffic here is moving. There's just, you know, when rush hour happens, there's a lot more cars on the road. For me, I don't call it necessarily traffic, but I have had other clients move into the area that have said that they feel like the area is trafficky during rush hours and certain times of the day. Just keep that in mind. If you're coming from a rural area and not used to that many cars on the road, you might not like it. There's some other areas in the northern part of the county that might be a better fit that aren't as traffic. Okay, real quick before we get to number 6, if you're new here, my name is Rachel Langley and I make videos just like this every week in order to help you. You might be considering moving here. And I was in your shoes a few years ago and I was on here trying to find some great videos to learn about the area. So that's why I help people every day, just like you, move to the area. So if you're considering moving to the area or already know you are, please reach out. My information is on the screen right here and I'd be absolutely honored to help you with your relocation. And if you are enjoying this video and would like to see more, please hit the subscribe button and click that little heart so that we know you like this and so YouTube knows to send you the next video when it comes out. Okay, number 6 is the cost of living. Again, it's very subjective. You know, obviously in a lot of places in the United States, locals that have lived in certain areas that were relatively cheap are suffering right now because of inflation. For people that have lived here their whole lives, it is definitely a lot more expensive and hard to manage. For other people moving in from different areas, it is definitely a lot more affordable. But for other people moving in from, you know, to South Dakota or certain parts of Texas, it does get more expensive. So it's very subjective, but overall compared to other areas of Florida, it is a lot more affordable. And if Melbourne is not in your budget, there's areas like Palm Bay or Titusville where you can find more space for less. So keep that in mind as well. There are other options. There's not only Melbourne, but for the most part, most homes I sell to families moving in are anywhere from $350,000 all the way up to recently I sold one for $850,000. But the average is usually about $450,000 to $500,000. 2 costs that I had not realized, you know, obviously I had heard insurance was an issue in Florida. I have new clients call me all the time worried they're not going to be able to get insurance. And I tell them, look, I'm not going to help you get a house that is not insurable. So you don't have to necessarily worry about that. The home insurance actually from both our houses that we own here, we have an investment property here too. It's not bad at all. Our Rhode Island insurance is actually more expensive. So that wasn't necessarily a big expense, but the car insurance doubled. There are a lot of uninsured motorists in Florida and that causes the insurance to be a lot higher. So just keep that in mind and get some quotes before moving here so you know it's not last minute like, oh my gosh, why are these triple the amount? You know, if you have a ticket on your record, that can affect it. So just do some research before, make sure that's all affordable. But keep in mind, there's no state income taxes. So for me, I kind of just evens out a little bit for me with that stuff. All right, number 7, I actually get this question quite often, and it is if there are any Trader Joe's in the area. The closest Trader Joe's, unfortunately, is in Orlando, about an hour away. Also IKEA as well. You got to go to Orlando. And I still have hope. I fill out that form on Trader Joe's website every other month, asking for them to bring it anywhere in the county. The area just north of Melbourne. It has Melbourne address if you're looking at houses. They are getting a Whole Foods, so that's very exciting. We also have a Sprouts, which is very similar, all organic, and that is in a West Melbourne, Palm Bay area, just north of Palm Bay. So we do have those options, but unfortunately we do not have a Trader Joe's. Number 8 is the age of homes. This area called the Space Coast started getting developed in the 1960s, actually late 1950s as well. There's some older homes, of course, but for the most part, a lot of the homes were built in that time period because of the space industry. It started booming, and that's when NASA started putting rockets up into space. So a lot of homes started being built up there. So you want to watch out for 1960s homes. A lot of them still have cast iron, and that is, for the most part, not in the best condition. It's kind of at the end of their life and can be pretty pricey to replace. The electrical is another thing, and then not being built into Miami-Dade standards like many new builds are today. I live in a 1977 home. It has PVC. Thankfully, no, we don't have to change anything out, but we have had to add stuff like straps for the roof, but our insurance is completely fine. With that said, there's also so many options for new construction as well. Just something to know if you're looking at homes. All right, number 9 is that Melbourne is definitely continuing to be developed, and it is growing. So it could get a little bit crowded, like I mentioned before with traffic. There's still lots of developments in play right now. It's kind of hard to find new construction in the city of Melbourne. You can find some scattered lots, but for the most part, I don't see that much big plots of land for subdivisions to be built. There is one coming in the next year, and another one that's townhomes. New constructions can be found in Yarra, which is an unincorporated area. Even though it has a Melbourne address, it's still north of Melbourne. Great area. I saw a lot of properties there. People love the area, the master plan community. So something to consider. There is Yarra as well. And then there's also a few new construction in West Melbourne. And then there is a ton of new construction in Palm Bay, which is very, it's on the line of Melbourne, but it can be a different feel for sure. It's very residential, where Melbourne has a lot more amenities. So just something to keep in mind. All right, number 10, the people. I live here and I absolutely love the people. So if you're watching this, you're local, I love you, don't worry. I'm not talking bad about you. If you join the local Facebook groups or you go on Reddit, I'm part of those groups as well. My husband's always like, oh, this person's looking for a realtor. Sometimes you'll get people saying, don't move here, Florida's full, we don't want you. At the end of the day, a lot of those people are transplants themselves, whether it was 10, 15 years ago or 5 years ago. Just try not to listen to the haters and follow your heart. We live in the United States, we're allowed to live anywhere we want in the United States, and don't be necessarily turned away by keyboard warriors on the internet. There's a lot of them. In general, the people here, when you meet them face to face, are super sweet. A lot of them are transplants themselves, and you don't have to worry about that. So keep an open mind if you see those comments. Sometimes I even get them on my YouTube videos. You might see one below if you look. So just keep an open mind and don't overthink those comments. But that's all I got for you today. That's all 10 reasons why you should not move to the area. If you're listening to this and you are convinced that this is not the place for you, still reach out. There might be a different area in the county that can work for you, whether you're looking for more quiet or you're looking for beachfront, condo, home, whatever that might be. So make sure you reach out to me. My information is on the screen right here. You can call, text, or email me any day of the week. I'll get back to you as soon as I can, and I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks so much for watching. My name is Rachel Langley, and I'll see you on the next one.